said, my name is Norman, and this is where I weave Harris Tweed. Yeah. I suppose you've all heard of Harris Tweed. It's a famous product. It's well known all over the world. Yeah, especially North America and Australia as well. But, now, one of the most important things about Harris Tweed is that it's a hand-woven textile. It's hand-woven. There's no power on this loom except the weaver. He pedals away and he does it. Although you could say it's more foot woven than hand woven. But it's also a pure wool textile. It's pure wool. And Harris Tweed has to be made in the Outer Hebrides of Scotland. You can't make it anywhere. You can, but you can't call it Harris Tweed. It's protected by this trademark here, Orb trademark. Now that trademark is 100 years old, over 100 years old. So it's been around for quite a while. So that guarantees what I've said, that it's hand woven woolen product, and it's entirely made in the Outer Hebrides. The wool, however, comes from mainland UK because there's not enough wool in Lewis and Harris to keep the industry going. It hasn't been for a long time. So there's 3 tweed mills on the island, and the way the industry works is the tweed mills buy the wool from the wool marketing board. They buy it in raw wool, and it comes in the island in big bulks. And what the tweed mills will do then is they'll dye the wool. They'll dye the wool whatever colour they want. That's done in the tweed mill. There's 3 tweed mills on the island. They dye the wool and then they'll spin it. They'll spin it on big machines into yarn, and they end up with tubes of yarn like that. Tubes of yarn like that. And from these tubes of yarn, they'll make what we call the warps for the tweed. Now the warps are the threads that run lengthways in the tweed. That's what you call a warp. Okay? The ones that go from side to side, in the shuttle, for example, it's always going from side to side, it's called a weft. A weft. Now the machine over there behind you is the weft winding machine. Okay? So from the big tubes down, it's got 6 spindles on it. And from the big tubes at the bottom, it produces these things I've got in my hand here, the bobbins. Okay? So it's got to go from the big size to that size, because that's the biggest thing that will go into the shuttle. So you've got to be reduced, the weft has to be reduced down to that size before you can start weaving. Now you're allowed to put a little electric motor on that machine. That's the only sort of power that the weaver can apply. It's been a motor on his weft winder, but he mustn't put any power on his loom except himself, really. So as I said, although we call it hand woven, we use our feet mostly on the loom. We use our feet mostly on the loom. Now this sort of loom it's about 60 years old. It's called the Hattersley single width loom. And it came into existence about 1920 or so when they were first made in England specifically for the Harris Tweed industry. But they went all over the world, and they're ideal in parts of the world where there's no electricity, in areas in South America and the west coast of Ireland and in the northwest of Scotland. We only got electricity here about 50 years ago, so it was ideal, you know, before the electricity arrived for as a cottage industry to produce the Harris Tweed, really. Now, this is what we call, as I say, single width tweed. Most tweed nowadays is produced in much bigger looms called the double width tweed. That happened about 15 years ago when it moved from the single width tweeds onto the double width. But from day one up to about 15 years ago, all Harris Tweed was made this width, and mostly for the previous 70 years was made on this Hattersley loom, really. There's still a few of these looms left, you know, but they're more sort of becoming more like relics of history now. But I think it's nice to keep the old looms going and to see how it was done in the days gone by, really. Now the way the loom works is got 2 pedals here, 2 pedals on my feet, and when I push one of the pedals down, the right-hand pedal, you'll see this part of the loom coming forward. Now what that does is it pushes the thread from the shuttle or the weft, it pushes it into the tweed here, pushes it right in. Now the warp threads, there's 4 boards here with all these wires in them. In the middle of each wire is an eyelet, and a single thread of warp comes through the eyelet. Now as the loom is working, these boards are always going up and down like that, and that sort of, what that is doing is locking the warp and the weft together into the weave. It locks it right here at the edge of the cloth. It's locked in there by these boards going up and down. So when I press the pedal down, it goes forward, pushes the thread in, and then it goes back. Now when that is happening, the boards are moving. When it's fully back, this arm will automatically throw the shuttle across. It'll throw it across, carrying the thread off the weft. and it happens fairly quickly, and it's a bit noisy as well. So this is it. So that happened. That forward, back, boards move, and the shuttle goes across. You press the other pedal, and the same thing happens again, forwards and back, and the shuttle going across. The shuttle's going to come from the left-hand side. So I'm working here with two shuttles. So there's only one colour in the weft. I have two shuttles because you get a better mix of weft with two shuttles. So there's a revolving box over here on the left-hand side, and it's programmed. It's programmed to deliver one shuttle after the other. When you get two shots of one shuttle, the box will go that way, and the other shuttle will get thrown across, giving you two shots on that shuttle. Then it'll go back, then the other shuttle. So the alternate shuttles will give you two shots. So we'll just do a wee bit of weaving.